Hello again, I'm Trip Rogers, and this is Trip's Take. 'Tis the season for holiday music. Now, over the weekend, I went down to my sister's in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. I was working at the LPGA golf tournament, which was in just outside of Tampa St. Pete, and which I enjoy. I was spotter for NBC Sports coverage, the Golf Channel's coverage of the tournament. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy that, but it also gave me a chance to kind of sit in the car and listen to radio, which is, something that us radio geeks kind of like to do. And when I got into Tampa Bay, I started listening to The Dove, which is 105.5. Now, I had known that they had flipped to their Christmas format a week earlier. And it was really kind of a surprise and really early. Now, just some history. This radio station has always been an easy listening station. Softer hits. They've kind of bumped it up a little bit, but they're very consistent, and they've been that way for a long time. And I remember listening to it when I went down there in the 90s, because I was down in the Sarasota area and the Tampa St. Pete area for a number of times. But anyhow, I started listening, and now let me just a couple of explanations here. Number one, I am a huge Christmas music fan. I never understood why all the Christmas music gone after the midnight on Christmas night. Never understood that. Even when I started out in broadcasting, never got the reason why they did that. And then you started to, you saw satellite radio come into existence in the early 2000s. And the other thing that happened was after 9/11 in 2001, some radio stations got the idea, why don't we play Christmas music? Might pick up the spirits of people. Well, they found out that switching to all Christmas music was a ratings bonanza. And it also made a lot of money because they could sell a lot of spots. So stations then tried to position themselves to be the, name the town, Christmas station. And that led to some stunting, shall we say. That's what we call it in the radio business, where you kind of flip a format and you do something. Some stations would go to all Christmas music right after Halloween. Now, that was a description that my buddy Jeff Rafter, who's been a program director for a number of years and a good friend, and he said, when you flip Christmas music stupid early, that usually indicates something's going to happen after the holidays to that radio station. That's a radio station thing. You get a bunch of people to listen, and then you try something new, or you make a format adjustment, as the old saying goes. So you've seen this over the years, that stations compete to be the Christmas station. So you have some that will jump really, really early. And the Dove went earlier than expected, but there was another twist. When I started listening to them, they were playing a lot of what I would call traditional Christmas music. Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, all the Christmas classics from over the years. Now, a lot of Christmas stations nowadays stick to most of the contemporary songs, either original songs by current artists or some songs that have been updated through the years, songs that have been redone. I think it's sacrilege anybody who does a version of Happy Christmas, War is Over, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, original version, do not redo that. But some people have. And the thing is, a lot of these stations, Christmas stations, would play these newer songs. But it was refreshing to listen to the Dove because they were playing a lot of traditional Christmas songs, and I really enjoyed it. But the other thing that was kind of interesting is every time they would do a commercial break, they did them every half hour. When they finished the commercial break, they would say, don't forget, all your Dove favorites will be back on December 26th, like Gloria Estefan, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and, Michael Jackson. And they promoted the fact that they're going to go back to their regular format. I'd never heard that. it was kind of an interesting thing, and I thought it was an interesting spin on it. But as I said, I think I was more surprised by the traditional Christmas music that I heard, and I call it traditional Christmas music. I mean, they still played some, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Mannheim Steamroller, that kind of thing. But when I say traditional, again, I mentioned those artists, and I was surprised at the amount I heard. Gene Autry's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Gene Autry's Frosty the Snowman. Those are classic songs, classic Christmas songs. So I listened to that for a little while, and I enjoyed it. And I should mention that I always look forward to November 1st because that was when SiriusXM would put their Christmas music channels on, and I was partial to holiday traditions. I didn't like Holly because there were too many new songs. I don't like a lot of the new Christmas songs. I think my favorite new Christmas songs, well, Michael Bublé's stuff is great, but Kelly Clarkson's Underneath the Tree, I think is the only one I really like. The Taylor Swift Christmas song, I think from a couple of years ago, is pretty good too. But I'm not a fan of the current stuff. I like the traditional song. I think my favorite Christmas song, I got to say, is Last Christmas by George Michael and Wham. And of course, the great story behind that song is they released it. They thought this was going to be a monster hit. It shot up to the charts, never hit number one. Why? Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid was released that year. True story. They never went to number one because of it. And of course, that song featured George Michael as one of the, featured vocalists on it. And Last Christmas finally went to number one in Britain a couple of years ago. And of course, the story of Mariah Carey. I mean, her Christmas song's been around for almost 30 years. I think it's 30 years next year. And she finally went to number one a couple of years ago. And Mariah Carey says she's the queen of Christmas. You're right. Okay. Moving on. So I was listening to that, and then I saw in radio information, I get these newsletters. I saw that other iHeart stations had gone all Christmas, and a lot of them are around the country, and there is an iHeart station in Tampa, Mix 100.7. So I started to listen to that. Now, that was more what I was used to when you listen to an all Christmas station, a lot more contemporary songs, that kind of thing. But they did something. One of the axioms that I've grown up with in radio, and I have held on to all these years, you don't talk about the competition. You don't mention the competition. You don't talk about the competition. Well, every half hour, iHeart would go, well, if you don't like the music here, you can go here to listen to all this stuff. And I'm like, don't you want them to listen to your Christmas music? So, and I listened to that, and I mean, it was entertaining. I mean, like I say, it was all Christmas. Now, of course, in my, small corner of the world in Savannah, we've got a couple of all Christmas stations already right now. I'm not paying attention to it. I mean, we'll play some Christmas songs. We'll probably throw some Christmas songs in on the air at Q105.3. And WTRSradio.com will have one Christmas song an hour starting Black Friday. I mean, but that's because you want to get into the spirit and stuff. But, there's a point where it could be overkill. Now, I want to go back to what I started at the first time when I talked about, stations stopped playing Christmas songs at midnight on the 25th. They're 11:59 on the 25th. I make it that way. And I always felt that was wrong, especially if, depending on when Christmas fell. If Christmas falls on a Thursday or a Friday, most families will get together the weekend after to celebrate. Well, it'd be nice to have some background and hear some Christmas music. So why stop playing Christmas music on the 25th? Play it through the weekend. Not going to kill you. One song an hour, two songs an hour. And again, it adds to the festive spirit, and it gives you a chance to perhaps maybe be on in the background, because people normally will throw I mean, I remember when I was young, we had a bunch of Christmas albums. We'd throw them on the Victrola. We'd stack them up, and we would listen to Christmas music. That was our soundtrack for the holiday. And there's nothing wrong with playing Christmas songs after Christmas. All Christmas, I don't know if I would stick with that. And I did know a couple of stations would stick with All Christmas till the weekend was over. But somehow I think people might get tired of it at that point, because by the 26th of December, everybody's like, okay, let's move on. It's almost time for New Year, that kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get it. So wherever you are in your town, I hope you have a Christmas station and you enjoy it. Like I say, I enjoy Christmas music. The funny part is I've worked at stations that were all Christmas. It is not what I would say the most exciting radio programming in the world. And there are some people who really get tired of them because you're basically playing the same songs all the time. But I have a different view. I kind of tune it out. I mean, it's great, and listeners love it, and people tell us how much they enjoy it. Like I say, there's pros and cons on both sides. But again, the other part of this is there's really not a whole heck of a lot going on in the radio recording industry, because if you're going to have an album out for Christmas, you'll release it by Thanksgiving, even the 1st of December, and the record business kind of shuts down during the month of December, and so does radio. A lot of people take vacations around the holidays, that kind of thing. So, just sharing some bon mots, I guess I would say, little tips, little tidbits of information. And again, I hope you enjoy your Christmas. Actually, I'm wearing my Buc-ee's shirt, which is red, so I guess it fits into the Christmas mode. I'm trying. I mean it. I am trying. And that's Trips Take for November 16th, 2023. Love to hear your comments and questions about the podcast. All you got to do is email tripstake@gmail.com. All right, we're getting to the home stretch. The fantasy football season is upon us. Be on the lookout for my other podcasts, The Fantasy Sultans with the Hall of Famer Mike Sheck. You can find it on Spotify for podcasters, also on YouTube. Just search for Fantasy Sultans. And you can find Trips Take also on YouTube. Just search for Trips Take. If you like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and Christmas music thrown in there every so often, listen to WTRSradio.com. Join me again next week. For now, Trip Rogers. Thanks for listening. Make it a great one.